Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Rich. I hope you enjoyed the match when Super Kings were back in their den. The Lions were roaring. My boys did at least. All of them were quite happy that Dhoni was back and the games are back on and Chennai was back in full form. So those of you not cricket fans, I understand. Sorry that I dived into that if you're not. Today, the news is all about IndusInd, so I thought I'll break it down for you, what's happening with IndusInd and what should you do at the end is what we'll be talking about. Hopefully by end of the video, I'll give you my pitch for IndusInd and let's see if you agree with it or not. So what happened in IndusInd? Well, March 2025, it came into the news that around 2,100 crores of potential loss from the derivative portfolio is there and the bank came out announcing it. What led by that? This sudden shock to the market gave a knee-jerk reaction and the price has crashed since then. And it's down by almost 19,000 crores has been wiped out for investors since that news broke out. So why are people angry? You know, if it was a genuine mistake and it's happened some time ago and the bank has said this, why are people up in arms raising this issue saying why are they angry about it? Well, the problem is long before this loss came public, the CEO Sumant Katpalia and the deputy CEO Arun Kurkarana sold shares at a peak of 1,500 rupees per share when the market had valued the bank at that peak. This was between September 2023 and June 2024, where they've each made around 100 crores each. So now you're saying, Vinod, this news came out in March 2025. They've sold in September 2023 and 2024 June. If so much time has passed, why are we talking about it? It's definitely nothing suspicious. The reason why it looks suspicious is RBI had warned the banks of these new rules way back in 2021. Then it sent out a circular in September 2023. The deadline to comply with this circular about what we just spoke about, these kinds of accounting problems, was April 1st, 2024. All of the banks in India has complied. There were minimal losses. They also cleared their books and they have all told RBI sorry for those losses. It was all done and dusted. But the IndusInd top bosses are not newbie bankers. They are well experienced bankers and the eyebrows have been raised because they sold their shares back then and remained silent till June 2024. So there lies the problem. That means what? It's a question everyone's asking, because if it looks like something, it smells like something, then it must be something. That's what the saying is. So what could this mean? Well, what this could mean is possibly they knew before the news came out of what was there, the risk it was there and what will happen to the stock price. If they did know and they acted on this, that is falls under insider trading, which is not legal. It means profiting from knowledge prior to the market before the public knew. Profiting from that is not legal. And the silence, there's been absolute silence from June 24. And that looks like there's some kind of self-imposed gag order happening within the bank leadership where they're not talking about this. So all this has led to a lot of speculation in the media. There's been lots of articles written about this. And this is the main reason, though the Hindujas, who are the promoters of the bank, have come out and saying, don't worry, we're behind the bank, 1,100%. See, we bought Reliance Capital and we plan to integrate this into IndusInd to improve our product portfolio. We're going to infuse more cash. Once the RBI clears it, we are ready to put in more money. We're planning to raise more money, and they did. That also came in the news, and that gave a bit of a stock push at that point in time. But today, at the time of the recording, we're at 600 and odd. It's down 2-3%, which you can check. So why, if all this is true? What happened was, over the last few days, there's a company called auditing company, investigation firm called Grant Thornton Norton, and they have been brought in to investigate this. These guys are expert in investigation. They have done IFLS and they've done some other investigations in India. They've worked with CBI. They're well seasoned with the Indian system, but they're not clear of controversies themselves. They have had their own issues and controversies where they've been questioned, but their controversies are not bad as the big four auditing firms. The funny thing is, these auditing companies are very large. They have multiple offices around the globe and they are sometimes competing each other, sometimes they look like they're colluding with each other. So it does leave a lot of question out there. Usually one auditing firm will be signing off things, and then so-called it will hit the fan, and then competing auditing firm will be brought in to investigate what this auditing firm has done, to investigate if they followed. So this is what Grant Thornton is going to do. They're going to dive into this IndusInd Bank, and as requested by the promoters, they're going to find out what has happened inside this bank and investigate. So they'll find out when, hopefully, when the CEO and the deputy CEO knew of this information. Did they sell based on this knowledge? Then why didn't they report this earlier to the RBI? Why did they wait so long to report? Is another question that needs to be answered. And last and most important as an investor is what failed? What failed in IndusInd Bank's systems for this to transpire and happen is an important question that needs to be answered. So what is at stake here? The reputation of the bank's leadership is what is at stake, and the shareholders' trust. The shareholders' trust is already broken. That is why the bank market value has been wiped out by 19,000 crores. And lots of people have now come out saying, analysts, that is, investment firms, have come out saying they expect the price to be at this point, they expect the price to be at that point. And it's much lower than what it was. And the leadership of the bank is also being questioned by RBI. News has come out saying RBI has asked the CEO and deputy CEO to go, while the bank has said, no one has asked us to go. We are standing behind these guys. There's a lot of confusion there too. Now, what does this mean for a value investor? Someone like me. What do we do with this information? Well, I'm a contrarian when it comes to this. A classic contrarian investor would look at this as an opportunity. When the sentiment is weak, but the fundamentals are intact, is what I would say is what I'm looking at. The reason why is, one, the Hinduja group owns significant stake in this bank, right? They're long-term players. They've been here for a very long time. They're not some fly-by-night operators. And if anything, this gives a perfect opportunity for them to revamp the leadership and the governance, which is a much needed reset for this bank. It's been going on for some time, but they've had issues with the RBI, and some tussles have been going on back and forth. And most importantly, RBI itself is standing behind the bank. They said there's no red flags in terms of solvency. There's capital adequacy is good. That means the bank has well buffered to handle any kind of situation that comes up. The core banking business of IndusInd is very sound, right? And the operating metrics are still very good. That means it has a very strong retail microfinance presence. Its CASA, that's current and savings account ratio, has improved in the recent years. Its net interest margin is healthy, and the credit growth continues in the bank. Even during this microfinance fallout which happened, IndusInd Bank did have some hits during that time, but they've sailed through that well. So is this an opportunity for a beaten down stock? If the leadership changes, if the governance issues are addressed, the market may re-rate this bank and may enter the bank again. So is it going to happen today, tomorrow? I don't know. Will it happen soon? I hope. As an investor and as a customer of IndusInd Bank, I would hope the investigation comes through soon, that the investigation findings are followed and RBI rules are clearly mentioned, are adhered to. And if the leadership is required to be changed at the end of the investigation, that happens too. But don't panic is what I would say. Don't panic and throw out in urgency whatever you have with IndusInd Bank, because I'm not doing it. I see it as an opportunity, and that's what my brother also feels. As far as we are concerned, the promoters are sound, the bank is sound. There is some issues with the leadership, and these things are short term. And the next year or so, things would definitely improve. Even RBI, before all this blew up, had only given an extension, not 3 years, just 1 year for the current leadership, and has even encouraged them to look outside stock for their next CEO. So I'm sure that will happen, and the board will comply and the promoters will comply with this, because they themselves also want the bank to do well by just sheer actions they've taken so far. Like I said about Reliance Capital, and I've said about raising funds for the bank and them wanting to invest more money in the bank and bringing IndusInd Bank to a larger presence in India. And looking at the greater context where Indian economy is going to grow and there's going to be more opportunities for India and Indians here, with all things considered, we need good banks, and that too in the private sector. So taking all that into consideration, I would say price to book of less than 1. Right now it's trading probably at 1.8, between 1.8 to 1.7. It's a great entry point for the bank, for any investor looking at getting into this bank, is what I would feel. That's my humble opinion. Am I buying the stock? Yes, I'm buying the stock. Am I telling you to do it? That's purely up to you. Please understand the risk involved in capital markets. A lot of you want to invest in capital markets, and especially when you're thinking about the Stephen Coffee range and all this, whatever I said, and that's what I spoke about on Saturday and Sunday. You need to understand how markets operate, what a capital market is, how losses can happen in these markets, how you can lose everything and get wiped out, because that's the amount of risk involved in anything which you do. All of us understand risk when we talk about driving or even wanting to do business, but for some reason when we look at it in the stock market, we feel we are immune to it. You're not. There is even more risk in the stock market than anywhere else. So the way to lower your risk is to increase your knowledge and awareness, and with that information in your hand, you can invest wisely and create wealth. Yes, you can lose money. Everyone loses money in the stock market here and there, now and then. But overall, if you're trying to do the right asset allocation, like I said over the weekend, you should be fine. For those of you who missed about asset allocation, I strongly suggest you see those 2 videos I did over the weekend, so you understand basically how to go about thinking about investing, and not to just buy stocks based on some list or some video which you saw, but rather on some sound plan which you have at hand. This is what I wanted to share about IndusInd, about why the prices is where it is. I hope it gave you some clarity about IndusInd, because today the Bank Nifty, as Arun says, has gone sky high. He said, sir, they've taken it to the limit. I said, yes, they have taken it to the limit. And even the Indian rupee seems to be getting stronger against the dollar. Some may argue that it's not good. Some may argue it is great. I personally think for companies, like I said before, which are income is driven by exports like software and pharma, for them this is not a good news if the rupee keeps getting stronger. For people who are importing into India and setting up like electronic industries right now, people are setting up electronic industries in India. This is great news because their import cost comes down. That's the way to look at it. In terms of the economy, why is the Indian rupee doing what it's doing? It's simply that RBI has been making moves in the market to strengthen the rupee, and also the FIIs might be buying more into the Indian market, or maybe I would say more than buying into the Indian market, because if you remove the Manappuram deal off the table and a couple other deals off the table, the amount of money actually coming in may not be as much as them slowing down their selling. I think the demand for the dollars in India has come down because FIIs might have slowed down their selling more than them buying fresh stock into India, taking fresh positions in India. That's my humble opinion. Anyway, those are those 2 reasons domestically that may have helped strengthen the rupee. The other, of course, what's happening in the US, the uncertainty which is hanging there with what Trump is doing is not boding well for the dollar. That is also not helping the situation. Of course, gold has broken the 3,000 barrier and there has been some correction there. But more than watching gold consumption in the US and in Europe, where you must keep your eye on what gold consumption is going on is a Chinese central bank. That will give you a clear indication on what the future price of gold might be. If the Chinese central bank suddenly decides to buy some more gold, that might even put more pressure on gold prices. But I think having 5 to 10% portfolio in your gold as an investor is more than plenty. You don't need to take any bigger exposure in gold. At least personally, I don't. I have around 5% of my portfolio. This, especially since I started this 2,000 rupee challenge with you guys, has been around 5%. Whenever I feel I've gone below that 5%, I spend that day's Tiffin coffee and gold. I really don't pay too much attention to what the price is because we're looking at a 10-year horizon here. So I try and keep it at that level. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you found it informative and entertaining what you thought about IndusInd Bank. I would love to hear your comments and your feedback. Some of you have very colorful way of letting me know things, and I do appreciate it. And I think in one video where me and Dana spoke about NSDL and CDSL, Mr. Hamid 7939 has said, Mr. Vinod, with all due respect, you're biased against companies which have demonstrated far more returns post-COVID than Tata Motors or Manappuram, etc. For instance, CDSL, even after correcting substantially after September 2014, still gave 1000% returns for the last 5 years. I don't understand how this sentence makes any sense. Is he saying from 2014 till date? Because if I look at this chart, so he says first 5 years. 5 years means that is 21 to now. So the last 2021 to 2025, it is given 376% returns. So is he saying that, or is he saying it's up 1,000 points? I'm not sure. But if I push it all the way back to from 2017 to now, it's given, I would say, around 843. And if I take 5 years, it's given 353, maybe even 400. But even if I consider, let's say, if he's going to take random stocks like that and compare it, you can even take it to Trent and take Trent, for example. If I compare Trent, because this is a point of no conversation, that's what I mean. If I take Trent from 2021 to now, it's up even more. And if I take Trent from 2017, it's up %. So what are you saying, Mr. Hamid? Where's all due respect? I'm not arguing about a stock giving returns. Yeah, sure, it gives returns. So what? I'm sure a lot of stocks give returns. I was talking in that video about business and business ideas and business investing and business models. So my argument was that it wasn't to do with returns. Returns are important, but returns are based on businesses. It's not on stock price movement is what I feel. If I'm wrong, Mr. Hamid, please let me know what you think, because I see you quite active in my comments and I do love conversations. Unfortunately, we can't have a conversation other than this way. So do put down in the comments, Mr. Hamid7939. I would love to hear what you think. Yeah, Tata Motors didn't give, Manappuram didn't give, but Trent could have given you. So I would like to know what other aspects you can give me. Anyway, enough of that. I hope you have a wonderful evening and see you tomorrow as we get into another day, another chance to invest for 2,000 rupees. Today I was all about IndusInd Bank and South Indian Bank in what I was looking at in different coffee range. Tomorrow I'll see what else I can do in different coffee range when the market's open. I hope you managed to have some different coffee today. And remember, though the markets may be up, markets may be down, we look at opportunities and we find those opportunities and we invest in our small ranges and we keep chugging along, because our horizon is 10 years from now, like Mr. Hamid says, in 2034 or 2036. Arun will be here, a little older and a little grayer behind the camera, agreeing and disagreeing and yet to invest in the market as always. Thanks for watching the video. See you again tomorrow. Bye.